Good morning everyone and welcome to another tutorial with Crochet Koala. Today we're going to start making this cute little koala known as Kylie the Beginner Crochet Koala. We've again got our movable limbs as we've had before and our cute little belly button, but we will be using a different needle sculpting technique to create this koala. So this is where we're going with our tutorial today. Now I used some mist colored pure gold yarn along with ivory and a little bit of black. You will also need your 3.5mm hook. I've got a 5mm flat ended hook that I use to help me stuff. Your shears, a stitch marker, row counter, some pins, your different sized needles from tapestry all the way up to upholstery, some fishing line. This time we'll be making use of 16mm safety eyes and a small pair of pliers in case you struggle to get the needle through the work. Obviously you'll also need stuffing in order to complete this project. I normally just cut open a throw pillow and use the insides of that as stuffing. So let's get started. For round one we'll be starting off with our slip knot, followed by a chain 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. We then make an increase in the second chain from the hook. That's 2 single crochets in the same spot. In the next chain, which is also the last chain, we make 4 single crochet increase, which means we are going to put 4 single crochets into the same spot. It's number 3, and there's number 4. By the time you've put in the 4th one, your work will have turned around. You then go back into that first stitch where you started and you make 2 more single crochets, which is also an increase, and that will bring us to the end of round 1. For round 2 we're going to make 8 increases. That's 1 increase in each stitch of a round. Now your first stitch is always tighter than the rest and hard to get into, so just wiggle your hook around. If you struggle a bit, don't stress about it, you will get through. So that's increase number 1. Increase number 2. Increase number 3. Increase number 4. Increase number 5. You can hear my chihuahuas are having a bit of a disagreement in the background. Don't mind them. They just have to sort each other out on a regular basis. It's increase number 6. Increase number 7. And increase number 8, which brings us to the end of round 2. For round 3 we're doing a little mini pattern, a single crochet in the first stitch followed by an increase in the second stitch, and we are going to repeat this mini pattern 8 times until we get back to the stitch marker, so that's repetition number 1. So then we do a single crochet followed by an increase, that's repetition number 2, single crochet followed by an increase, it's repetition number 3, single crochet followed by an increase, it's repetition number 4, single crochet followed by an increase, it's repetition number 5, single crochet followed by an increase, It's repetition number 6, single crochet followed by an increase. It's repetition number 7, single crochet followed by an increase, which gives us repetition number 8 and brings us to the end of our round. So that's the end of round 3. For round 4, our mini pattern is going to be 2 single crochets followed by an increase, repeated 8 times. So that's single 1, single 2, and in the third stitch we make the increase. So that's repetition number 1. We go again, single 1, single 2, followed by an increase. 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 Single 1, single 2, followed by an increase, and our final repetition, single 1, single 2, followed by an increase, brings us to the end of round 4. For round 5, our mini pattern is 3 single crochets followed by an increase, and we will repeat that 8 times. That's single 1, single 2, single 3, and in stitch number 4 we make an increase. That gives us repetition number 1. Single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase. Single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase. Single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase. Single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase. Single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase. Single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase. Final repetition number 8, single 1, single 2, single 3, and in our final stitch we make our final increase. That brings us to the end of round 5. For round 6 through to 13 we're going to make 40 single crochets, that is 1 in each stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go deal with a little knot here. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and for our final stitch, number 40, which brings us to the end of round 6. Now for round 7, you're going to make 40 stitches again. For round 8, another 40, round 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. For each of those stitches, you're just going to work all the way around, making 40 stitches, and your bowl will get deeper and deeper as you do so. And we will meet back here at the end of it. I will show you that section in fast forward. For round 14, we'll be repeating a mini pattern of 3 single crochets followed by a decrease, and we'll be repeating that 8 times. So stitch 1 gets a single, stitch 2 gets a single, stitch 3 gets a single, and then across stitch 4 and stitch 5 we make a decrease by crocheting those 2 stitches together. So it's 1, 2 and 3, followed by a decrease. If you're not sure how to make a decrease, please check out my short video on how to make a decrease under the Crochet Basics playlist. That's 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. It's 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 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 1, 2, 3, and across our final 2 stitches we'll be making our final decrease. So you should have repeated that pattern, 3 single crochets and a decrease, 8 times by now to bring you to the end of round 14. For round 15 our mini pattern is 2 single crochets followed by a decrease. So stitch 1 gets a single, stitch 2 gets a single, and stitch 3 and 4 get crocheted together with a decrease. We repeat this 8 times, so that was repetition 1. It's 1, 2 singles, followed by a decrease. That's repetition 2. Single 1, single 2, followed by a decrease. It's repetition 3. Single 1, single 2, followed by a decrease for repetition 4. Single 1, single 2, followed by a decrease for repetition 5. Single 1, single 2, followed by a decrease for repetition 6. Single 1, single 2, followed by a decrease for repetition 7. Single 1, single 2, followed by a decrease for repetition 8, which brings us to the end of round 15. Next we'll be inserting the eyes, so I'm just popping my stitch marker through the loop that's on my hook to keep it safe and sound so it doesn't go loose. Next up we'll be inserting our safety eyes. Start off with our stitch marker on our left hand side. We're going to press this head closed so that it becomes a half moon. You find your starting 2 stitches for your chain and you are going to press along those 2 stitches to form the outside line of your half that you are creating. Okay, so we press it in half like this so that we can actually see the shape and see where the front and the back is going to fall. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a pin and we're going to count down 10 rounds. So we start from here where we began, that's 0, and then with each line it's a round, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Insert our pin, so now we found our space between round 10 and 11. Next, we want to make sure that this pin we've inserted is actually in the center of the face. So we're going to count our stitches to the right and our stitches to the left to make sure that it's the same amount. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is on the edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we need to go a little bit, about one stitch to the left here to find the center. Okay, so we have now centralized this pin. We now want to mark the positions of our eyes, also with pins. We want to keep them 10 stitches apart. So starting from the center pin, we're going to count 5 stitches to the right, and then we're going to count 5 stitches to the left. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We insert the pin. Then we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we insert the pin. Center pin can now go out of the way. So these 2 pins that we've inserted on the same row marks the spots where we will be putting our safety eyes. Now, we start by first opening the half a little bit. Take your 16mm solid black safety eye, lift your pin up, and you want to insert your eye in the same hole that the pin was in. So once you've marked your spot, you can remove the pin and just press your safety eye through the weave so that it is in place. Going to do the same on the other side. Lift our pin, find the spot, take the pin out of the way, and just press our safety eye through. Now, once you've pressed it through, you'll see that the sharp ends are pointing towards the inside, the rounds on the outside. Now, you want to make sure that you are happy with the position of your safety eyes before you clip the backs into place, because once they're in place, they're not coming off, and you'll be stuck with the position. So check that you're happy. Once you are happy with your positioning, that it's nice and even and it's 10 stitches apart, they're both on the same round, you just take your backs and you clip them on nice and tight on the inside of the head. You want them to clip more than once. There we go. And that sorts out the placement of your eyes. At the moment they look freakishly far apart. Don't worry about it, that's the way it's supposed to be. For round 16, our mini pattern is going to be a single crochet followed by a decrease repeated 8 times. So stitch 1 gets a single, stitch 2 and 3 gets crocheted together with a decrease, and we repeat this 8 times. Single crochet followed by a decrease, 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 single crochet followed by a decrease. Final repetition, single crochet followed by a decrease. And that brings us to the end of round 16. For round 17, our pattern is going to be 2 single crochets followed by a decrease, and we're going to repeat it 4 times. So it's single crochet 1, single crochet 2, followed by a decrease, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, followed by a decrease, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, followed by a decrease, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, followed by a decrease. That brings us to the end of round 17. For round 18, we're going to make 12 single crochets. That's 1 in each stitch going around the round. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Brings us to the end of round 18. Round 19, we are going to stuff our head. So we're just going to take some stuffing. We're going to work through the opening. I know it's quite small, but you should be able to fit at least one finger through it if you've been making use of chunky yarn. And we're just going to push the stuffing into the head through that opening. In the beginning it can be a little bit tricky to get it to go in because you don't have much stuffing on the inside yet, so there's nothing to firmly hold it into place. But with each little bit of stuffing that you insert, it will get a little bit easier. As I've said earlier, I make use of the inners of throw pillows. I buy them cheaply in bulk, and I just cut them open and use the stuffing that comes from the inside. I find that that stuffing works out cheaper, it's much smoother, and it gives you a better result when you are actually stuffing than buying the expensive stuffing that's officially made for this type of thing. Now, the stuffing process is very important when you are making your amigurumi. You can crochet a piece perfectly. If you stuff it badly, it will look horrible. Now, what you want to achieve while you are stuffing is you want to create a smooth, round shape that doesn't have any bulges sticking out and it doesn't have any dents dipping in. So whatever part it is you're stuffing, nice and smooth and rounded. So as you can see, we're starting to get a bit of fullness now with our stuffing. So it's becoming a bit easier to push the stuffing in. You can see I push it in with one finger, but once my finger is on the inside, I actually move it to the sides to help get the stuffing into each spot of the head and to help create that rounded type of look without creating any bulges or dents in specific places. It's very important to do this because it helps to create that smooth look for your amigurumi. There we go. Just pushing in a little more. You see it's starting to become quite full in there at the moment. I'm going to have a look at it, and if you look at it here, you can see we've got a bit of a point sticking out there, and when it sort of flattens and dents in here, we don't want that. So we're going to stick our finger in, and we're just going to push in the right spots that are denting in to push them out so that they are no longer denting in. As you can see, that's given us more of a rounded effect, but now we've got a hole in our stuffing, so we just take a little bit more stuffing and we push it into the hole that we created with our finger when we moved the stuffing around on the inside. And you can move the stuffing around on the inside after you've put it in. There's no rule that says it has to stay exactly where you put it. If you're not happy with the way you've stuffed it, you can even take the stuffing out and redo it completely. If you want to get the shape a little bit better, you can see I'm pressing on the head from the outside as well, sort of like rolling a little ball. This also helps to round out and smooth out the stuffing on the inside until we are happy with our nice round little head that we've got there. It's nice and firmly stuffed. If you press on it, you'll see it makes a dent, but when you take your thumb away, the dent jumps back into place. That's how you know it's properly stuffed. If a dent stays there, you haven't put enough stuffing in. If you can't make the dent, you've put too much stuffing in. So you want it to dent and jump back once you've pressed. There we go. For round 19, our mini pattern is going to be a single crochet followed by an increase, and we are going to repeat that 8 times until we get back to our stitch marker. So stitch 1, single crochet, stitch 2, gets an increase. You'll feel it feels a bit different to crochet suddenly. It's because you've stuffed the head. It's going to feel awkward for a bit, but you'll get used to it. Just keep at it. So that's a single, followed by an increase, and a single, followed by an increase, single, followed by an increase, single, followed by an increase, our final repetition, which should be repetition number 8, a single, followed by an increase in our very last stitch. This brings us to the end of round 19. For round 20, we're going to make 18 single crochets, that is just 1 in each stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and our final stitch, number 18. That brings us to the end of round 20. For round 21, our mini pattern is 2 single crochets followed by an increase, and we are going to repeat that 6 times. So single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and an increase, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and an increase, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and an increase, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and an increase, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and an increase, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and our final increase of the round. That brings us to the end of round 21. For round 22, we're going to make 24 single crochets, 1 in each stitch. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Brings us to the end of round 22. For round 23, we're going to make 3 single crochets followed by an increase, and we're going to repeat this 6 times. So it's single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase, single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase, single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase, single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase, single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase, final repetition, single 1, single 2, single 3, and an increase. And that brings us to the end of round 23. For round 24, 25 and 26 we're going to make 30 single crochets in each round, so it's just 1 single crochet in each stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, which brings us to the end of round 24. Now you are going to repeat this exact same thing, 30 single crochets for round 25 and 26. So I'm going to show you those two rounds in fast forward. For round 27 we're going to do 3 single crochets followed by a decrease, and we're going to repeat that 6 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, followed by a decrease, 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 1, 2, 3, a decrease, 1, 2, 3, followed by our final decrease, which brings us to the end of round 27. For round 28, our pattern is 2 single crochets followed by a decrease, and we're going to repeat that 6 times. So it's single 1, single 2, and a decrease, 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 single 1, single 2, and our final decrease, which brings us to the end of round 28. Before we carry on with round 29, we are going to be stuffing the neck area of the body, so we want to get stuffing in here. You want to make sure you stuff this area quite firmly, because that's what's going to be holding up your head, so that you don't later on have a floppy head. So we just take some stuffing and we put it in. You don't want to stuff the entire body because we still got some decreases to make, and when you put too much stuffing in, it's hard to make those decreases, it's hard to maintain your tension, and you'll end up with each decrease creating a type of a hole in your work that your stuffing will show through later. So to avoid that, we're only stuffing the neck area. Then we're going to make our decreases, and we'll be stuffing the rest of the body at the end through a very tiny little hole. So as you can see, I've stuffed that area, but I can still compress this quite a lot. There's a lot of room left in there, and this is how we want it before we carry on. For round 29, our pattern is a single crochet followed by a decrease, and we're going to repeat that 6 times. So stitch 1 gets a single crochet, stitch 2 and 3 get crocheted together with a decrease. And we do a single crochet followed by a decrease. A single crochet followed by a decrease. Single crochet followed by a decrease, single crochet, followed by a decrease, single crochet, followed by a final decrease of the round. Split my yarn there. Sometimes happens with the thicker yarns. When it happens, just redo your stitch and make sure you get all of the yarn on the hook. That brings us to the end of round 29. For round 30, we are simply going to make 6 decreases. So stitch 1 and 2 gets our first decrease, stitch 3 and 4 gets our second decrease, stitch 5 and 6 gets our third decrease, stitch 7 and 8 gets our fourth decrease, stitch 9 and 10 gets our fifth decrease, and stitch 11 and 12, we'll get our 6th and final decrease. We're then going to finish off by making a slip stitch in the next stitch. Now, we're not going to be using this end for sewing, so it doesn't need to be very long when we chop it off. So we can just cut it off there and pull through, and that's the end of round 30. Now, after we finish round 30, we know that our body still isn't fully stuffed. It's very empty. You can see this is what an understuffed piece looks like. When I press on it, it just changes shape and it doesn't jump back. What we've got here is a very tiny hole where we finished off. I've got a 5mm hook that just fits perfectly in there, and it's got a flat edge at the back, which makes it easier for stuffing. So at this point you take some stuffing, not too much. The bigger the piece, the harder it will be to actually stuff it in there. You're just going to put it over the hole, and you're going to use your hook to push the stuffing into the body through the small little hole. It takes a little bit of practice to get the stuffing in this way. First time it will be hard, but it's well worth it because it just allows you to make such nice, neat decreases with such nice even tension, and you don't actually have to worry about any holes in your work, which can be very frustrating, especially when you're just starting out. It can be very difficult to make decreases around a fully stuffed body. So even though I've got years and years of experience, I still choose to do it this way because it actually just gives a nicer result all the way through, whether you're a brand new beginner or an old hand at crochet. As you can see, I am still pushing my hook to the sides as well to make sure that I get my stuffing everywhere in the body and a nice even rounded shape, same as we did with the head. We want to stuff our body nice and firmly. You'll see with smaller pieces it's actually easier to make it go in, but if you take a big piece of stuffing it becomes nearly impossible to convince it to actually go into the body. Okay, let's see. Press. Nope, still a little bit understuffed, so we want to add a little bit more. Doing it a little bit at a time allows you to also get to just the right amount of stuffing. I think just a teensy bit more and then we'll be ready. There we go. My Chihuahua's now fallen asleep and she's serenading us with her beautiful little snores. And that brings us to a fully stuffed koala body. The last thing we want to do is to close up the hole and finish off. For that we just put our end on a tapestry needle. And we are then going to weave it in and out around this opening that we used to stuff through. Once we've gone all the way around, we're just going to pull tight to close it up completely. Going to stick your needle through the center and just have it come out somewhere random on the body. Pull through, and there we go. We've closed up our body nicely, we've got our eyes in place, we've got our shape right, so this is what you should have for Kylie the Koala.